A new artwork to honour the achievements of the politician Eleanor Rathbone has been unveiled in a South Liverpool park. Eleanor Rathbone was the first woman to be elected to Liverpool City Council. She represented Greenbank Ward as an independent in 1909 and then went on to be an MP. She was acknowledged as being one of the first to realise the potential danger from Germany and the Nazi Party during the early 1930s. Local councillor Laura Robertson-Collins describes the artwork, which is in 3 panels in different parts of Greenbank Park.
We've got 3 quotes on the wall. They're made in corten steel, which is going to turn into a lovely coppery colour as we go through the year. They're written in the original font that she typed in, so that's why they're in that particular type of writing. And it's about the 3 main areas of her work, as I said, about refugees, about fighting poverty, and about getting women the vote and getting women represented.
Greenbank Ward. I'm one of the councillors here. I'm Laura Robertson-Collins. Welcome to Greenbank Park. This park where you're standing actually used to be part of the Rathbone family's estate. You can see their house is still just over Greenbank Lane on the other side there, where the university are refurbishing that. So the Rathbone family, this was part of Eleanor Rathbone's garden when she was a child, and they sold that to the corporation for the park at the end of the 19th century. So massive thanks to everyone for being here. Sorry about the drizzle. It doesn't normally rain in Greenbank Ward, so I'm not sure what's gone wrong today. Do apologise for that. When I was elected in 2011, I made a commitment myself to honour Eleanor Rathbone because I think she's someone who did fantastic work, fantastic campaigner for social justice. Work never quite recognised by the city in the way it should have been. It never quite recognised, but I think that in part was because she was an independent councillor and an independent MP, and therefore hasn't had a political party to actually champion her. We've got several people here to speak today about the work that you can see before you. One of the pieces is behind me. There's one by the gate and one on the corner up there. They're quotes about her life and her work and the 3 main areas of work that we wanted to focus on. And I've got 3 of my fantastic sisters here today to speak about those 3 different areas of work. And we'll hear a few words from Leslie Erbach as well about the National Remembering Eleanor Rathbone campaign, because the commemoration is particularly for this, the 70th year since she died in 1946. And we'll also hear a few words from Lulu Quinn, the artist herself. So the panel is unashamedly lacking in gender balance, I'm afraid. It's all women, and if you want to complain, then do feel free to. Probably don't let me hear about it, though. I'm going to ask Anna Byrne to speak first. Is that okay? Yeah. Anne's going to say a few words about one of the areas of Eleanor's work, which is about women's suffrage, behind us.
Thanks, Laura, and it's brilliant to be here with you all today and to be able to speak on women's suffrage. I've just come from a meeting in the Cunard building where Louise Ellman was there, Luciana Berger, Maria Eagle was there, Wendy Simon, who's the assistant mayor, and myself, talking about issues that are going on right across the city, the budget. Really strong group of women representing the city of Liverpool, and it demonstrates how far we've come, but it also demonstrates how far we've still got to go. When we look at the representation, you need to see what you want to be, and we need to make sure that we are seen out there, that we as women do everything we can to encourage other women to get involved in the politics, either through that's party politics or the politics in their community, to have a strong voice and to stand forward and be represented. And I think that's a big part of the work that I do as Deputy Mayor, is that I work with all of our councillors, where it's about encouraging our new, especially our women councillors, to come forward to take up those positions, but also those that are thinking about it, to support them along that journey to become representatives of their communities. And that's a really big piece of the work that I do, and a piece of work I'm really proud of. And when you think about women's history, especially the politicians or historical sisters, we really don't hear about them anywhere near as much as we do about men in our history, and we need to start changing that. We need to be talking about our history, because when we understand our history, where we know where we've come from, we understand the challenges that face us. So thank you so much for asking me to be here today, and I'd now like to hand over to... I was going to ask Lulu to say a few words about the art. So Lulu has been commissioned through the Council's Public Arts Commissioner, and here's Lulu Quinn.
Hi. Okay. Well, there's two things I want to sort of talk about. One is the actual content, what the words actually say to me, and why I was inspired to work on this project. Like everybody else who keeps saying they didn't really know, it's not that we didn't really know, it's that she is still current, and I think that's the point that I really want to get over. What she did and what she said is still relevant today, particularly this year. I mean, we have seen, I'm not going to go into, everybody knows what's happened this year, but in terms of what this piece is actually saying, the struggle that women have to make in order to become politicians makes politicians in themselves, is something that every day women are actually facing, and it's not yesterday, it's not today, it's still in the future. So I want this work, which deals with women's political status, it deals with refugee status, and it deals with the status of the family, are all things that are current and will be current in the future. So when people come into this park, it's going to be something that they can relate to, even if they don't know who Eleanor is. But the point is, they may actually say, who is this woman? And as long as they say, who is this woman, job is done, because it's all about people asking questions and finding out. Okay, the second thing I want to say very briefly is, why does it look like it does? It looks like it does because it's in its raw state. It has just been manufactured. The material is core 10, and now around the park you see a beech hedge, and on the beech hedge is beautiful light orange leaves. This is the colour that this core 10 is going to go. But it's not doing that today because it takes 2 to 4 weeks for it naturally to do it. So this is what you're looking at, is the raw state, and because it's been laser cut and welded and bent, and none of those processes could be done if it had rust on it. So that just, so you know, that's why it's like it is. So, which means if you really want to see how it's going to look, you have to keep coming back. And of course the great thing is it's a natural material. It will change with the light, so every time you come to the park it's going to look different, just like vegetation looks different. And the other thing to say, it's also about integrating with the architecture and the sense of place. So the words are actually following the wall as opposed to just being put on a plinth. So it's about acknowledging how the park has been designed and the fact that it's got an historical wall to it. That's it.
Thank you, Lulu, and thank you for all your commitment to the report of this project. So as our Deputy Mayor just said before, I apologise I didn't say who you were, one of the elements of work we were looking at was women's suffrage and women's representation. The second element, again, as Lulu's just said, extremely relevant to life today, is about the fight against poverty and the fight to make sure that women and children within families were receiving some money and not left in absolute poverty. So I've asked Lynn Collins from North West TUC, the Secretary of North West TUC, and a local resident, who's going to say a few words about how that aspect of her work is still really relevant today. And that's the quote that's on the corner there.
Thank you, Lynn. Thanks, Laura. Whoops. Don't know which way I'm supposed to stand. That way? That way? It is a privilege to come down here. I've lived just in that house over there that you can see for 16 years. I'm moving next week to the city centre. So, which way? That way. Great timing that we're unveiling this today, and I'm really pleased to be along. As well as working for the TUC, I sit on a number of these great and the good bodies, one of which is the Liverpool City Region Child Poverty and Life Chances Commission, and they meet this afternoon. And they're constantly, at those meetings, we're constantly amazed at the impact that poverty still has in our city. You only have to switch the TV on. Today we found universal credit rollout is leaving families behind with their rent again. We know that many of our families will be eating from food banks this Christmas, and that poverty is still there. So Eleanor's words and Eleanor's work on that are still really, really relevant today. I know you asked me to focus on that, but I wanted to say something about Eleanor as an internationalist as well, because she was a true internationalist. This year is the 80th anniversary of the Spanish Civil War. That was something that Eleanor supported along with the Pankhursts. and she did it in a very solidarity-driven way, as she did with many of her campaigns. So, you know, I'm delighted as a woman and as an internationalist and a feminist to be here to say a few words about her. I've been involved in another campaign to get a statue to Sylvia Pankhurst in London, which is making some progress now, and Eleanor worked with Sylvia Pankhurst on many campaigns. And one of the things that we say about that campaign is that only 20% of the statues or the commemorative things in our country are for women, 80% of them for men. We've got lots of men on horseback, but we haven't got many women. But the interesting thing about women is, when we think about commemorating women, we don't think about doing an effigy of them. We think about their words and their deeds, and that's why this piece of work is particularly beautiful, because it's about words and deeds, which is what I think women bring to politics, to campaigns and to internationalism, words and deeds. So I'm delighted to be here. It's great that it's in one of our parks. We're also working on something very exciting for Prince's Park as well, to commemorate the legacy of Nelson Mandela. Our parks are going to become places where people are educated as well as enjoying their leisure time, and that's absolutely fabulous for all of us in the city, and I hope this brings inspiration to anyone locally here to get involved in politics, whether that be being a politician in the normal sense of the word, being a school governor, being involved in voluntary organisations, being involved in local campaigns, neighbourhood watches, whatever it is, we need more and more women involved. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Lynn. I'm not sure what being a politician in the normal sense of the word is. We normally divide people into politicians and normal people, they're the other people. And just to go back, thank you so much, Lynn, for that. Eleanor, obviously the Labour government introduced family allowance, but it was Eleanor who fought tooth and nail to make sure that that was given to women within the family, and that is the absolute significance of that she fought for so long to make sure that women received that money within the family. I'm going to ask Leslie Urbach just to say a couple of words, if she's here. Leslie? Marvellous. As I said, in 2011, when I was first elected, I pledged to honour Eleanor, but it was Leslie turning up in the city last year, reminding us about the 70th anniversary for this year, 2016, of Eleanor's death, that kind of pushed us all to start doing some work on this. So thank you, Leslie.
Thanks, Laura. My colleagues, Dr. Susan Cohen and I, who are both Londoners, set up the Remembering Eleanor Rathbone group last year when we realised it was 70 years since she died in 2016. So our original aim was to commemorate her in this year. But as the time's gone on, we have developed other aims. One was to extend the number of people who have heard of her, and I think we have done that, but it's only a start. Secondly is to make the link, and one of the previous speakers alluded to this, between the campaigns she spent her life fighting for and very, if not the same issues as in the case of refugees, very similar issues today. And thirdly is to promote her ethic of responsible citizenship, that people can make a stand and can do something to campaign on behalf of the underrepresented in society. Our original interest, both our interests, is in her work on behalf of Jews from in Nazi-occupied Europe between 1933 and 1946, for which she gained the name, the MP for Refugees, and for which we're both extremely grateful that she was willing to stand up for people in immediate dangers of being murdered. Came to Liverpool, and I have to thank everybody in Liverpool who've been involved in helping commemorate her. The response we've had from a whole range of different organisations has been absolutely amazing. But we particularly want to thank Laura and James for immediately jumping on the bandwagon, and if that's the word, and promising to get a motion through the council, promising to get this commemorative artwork done and achieving it, and to thank all Liverpool councillors for voting for it overwhelmingly, and for all the support we've had from Liverpool Council.
Thanks so much, Leslie, and I say thanks so much for prompting us that, you know, we had to move on this, and it was time to do something. So we always kept saying we will do, but thank you for making us do that. So the third area of work on the 3 quotes, the one down by the gate, is referring to Eleanor's work with refugees, which Leslie's just spoken about there, both Spanish Civil War refugees and from Central Europe, from Nazi Germany. So our MP, Louise Ellman, Liverpool Riverside MP, very pleased to introduce Louise here, one of my longest term friends and supporters. So thank you, Louise, for being here. Louise is going to say a few words about Eleanor's work with refugees in particular.
Well, Laura, Susan and Leslie, can I say a big, big thank you to all of you for the fact that we're actually here today. I mean, Eleanor Rathbone, magnificent person, wonderful work, enduring work that still goes on. But until now, I don't think sufficiently recognised or even known about nationally and particularly here in Liverpool. But we're here today in Greenbank Park unveiling this wonderful artwork because of the work that all of you have done. I just see this as a beginning of making Eleanor's name more meaningful. And I want to say a few words about just one facet of Eleanor's work, and that's her work with refugees. And I want to think for a moment about what she did and what she brought to the work for refugees as an MP, using her position as an MP. She raised the whole issue of the plight of refugees, initially refugees from Nazi Europe, when people in Parliament, as well as elsewhere, didn't know or didn't want to know. And she wouldn't accept that. She spoke about what was happening in Nazi Europe, and she spoke about it in Parliament so much that she was called the member for refugees. But she didn't take that as a reason to talk about something else. She dug in and she went on and on. But it wasn't just about talking, she was effective. And she set up a committee in Parliament doing work on refugees. She wrote about it, including a pamphlet called Rescue the Perishing, and she worked hard to raise knowledge of what was happening, but to do work in supporting refugees. And I spoke a lot to the late wonderful Margaret Simey, who I think would be known to quite a few people here, and she used to talk to me at length when I was first elected here about her friend Eleanor and the work that they did in Liverpool across a whole range of social issues, but including the work they did on supporting refugees who then were rescued from Nazi Germany and actually found a new life here. So I see Eleanor as someone who campaigned, who raised profiles, but made a difference and delivered change. And talking is where we have to start, campaigning is what we have to do, but that is never enough. The judgment has to be, did you actually make a difference? And she did. And of course, as we look around the world today, refugee issues are really up high there, aren't they? Terrible problems everywhere we look. And one of the communities in Liverpool very much affected by what's going on in a current very nasty civil war is in Yemen, and on Sunday there will be a vigil for peace in Yemen, and I hope people will be able to go there at 2 o'clock in Lodge Lane. It's one of a series of vigils. And again, I think we all have to think about what is it that we can do. Eleanor there in Parliament did a lot. She raised the profile, she raised knowledge, she campaigned, she made a difference nationally where it had to be made, but also worked locally. And I hope all of us, as we look around our world today and think about the plight of refugees, will all do whatever we're able to do to raise awareness, but above all, to do something about it. So thank you very much, Laura, for all you've done, and to everyone for making this event possible today.
Thanks so much, Louise. I think the vigil is Saturday, tomorrow. The Yemen Peace in Yemen vigil is at the top of Lodge Lane, up by the bar site, tomorrow. You're losing track of time. It's obviously the excitement of your Christmas dinners, getting to. So that's tomorrow, Saturday, at the top of Lodge Lane, the Smithdown Road end of Lodge Lane, from 2 till 3. So it would be great to see some new faces there. It'd be really fantastic. So thank you, everyone, for those words, those helpful, supportive words. A few other people to massively thank, not least of all Leslie Woodbridge from the City Council, our Public Arts Officer, who kept calm for many months and turned what was a political demand into actual piece of art, commissioned, paid for. Have we paid for it? I think we paid for it. Fundraised, paid for, and on the walls on the day that we said, in time for the end of the 2016 year. So absolutely congratulations. Thank you so much for your support, Leslie. It was funded, in case people are wondering, through the council, but some of it from private developers, from Section 106 money, some from our local ward fund, supported by my ward colleagues here in Greenbank. And also the university made a generous donation, so thank you over the wall to the Liverpool University there. Very generous donation. As I say, the university have always recognised Eleanor in a way that maybe the rest of the city has failed to do until now. And the other funding also came from local residents, so thank you so much both for the moral support from local residents, but also some local residents actually put financial contribution towards this art. And thank you to the artist and the public arts officer there for actually making that happen, turning all those different bits of funding into something that we can see, and that is genuinely beautiful. So thank you so much for being here. I say sorry about the drizzle, but at least it's not flashing down. There was some food. One day there will also be a cafe, and the cabinet member for Regeneration is winking at me, so he promises that lease is getting sorted out. What we've got is an empty shed. Will be a cafe soon. I apologise that it wasn't ready for today. But welcome to our park. As I say, I hope you've enjoyed the visit. I hope you enjoy the artwork, and thank you so much for being here and for all the support.